Good
Good morning to you.
Good
Monday
morning.
Cheers to you. Gosh, we're happy to be back with you again and appreciate you connecting with us here because it's the only way that we get to connect right now.
Well, speaking of, that's what I want the topic to be today is connection.
Right.
How about that?
Right. Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, you were telling me you were out at Crossovers. Crossover is our recovery center out in Hilldale, and you were out there yesterday for their graduation.
Right.
Tell me about that.
Well, you know, it's so fascinating to see the change in people when they find sobriety and the peace that comes with that. And one of the things that was said was the opposite of addiction is connection. You know, it really hit home because it is so true. So many times people in our lives lose the connection to their family because of choices they made, or lose the connection to their work, or right? And so they end up having no connection, and it leads them into addiction, or their addiction got them to the space of no connection. And I thought it's so appropriate right now because not only is that happening in addiction, but in regular people's lives.
In all our lives.
I miss the hugs. I miss seeing, you know, my parents or my kids a lot, or just even having meetings. Everything now is Zoom.
Yeah.
And that's really not a connection. I mean, it's okay, but man, I want to touch you.
Yeah. we're you know, especially in our work. Yeah, we're huggers. We're you know, warm fuzzies.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And we get that from each other. But one of the things that we have realized too is one of the greatest causes of homelessness is what? A catastrophic loss of family.
Right.
And, you know, so that's why it's really important here that we create a family and we treat them with dignity and respect and help get them back. But that really reminds me, and that's to no fault of the family. So I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of Ken.
Oh, let me tell you a
Recently,
great
Ken,
story.
Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
this one just, it so hits home the point that we're trying to make today, Linda. Ken is a 78-year-old gentleman who suffers from some mental illness, and his family has tried for 20 years to connect with him or to get him to see that his life was kind of spiraling. And
he's a veteran.
He's a veteran, but he just was really difficult to be with, and he wouldn't respond to anything that the family was asking, which is very typical, you know, where we treat our loved ones worse than we do our friends, right? But one of our staff members was able to connect with him. She noticed that one day he really needed a shower, and she just invited him in and said, you know, why don't you take a shower, right? And it looks like you sat in some pudding.
Yeah, he came to the food pantry. He was accessing the food pantry.
And he looked at her and thought, I don't know what he was thinking, but how he responded was, okay, you were nice to me, I sure will. And every day for 2 months, he would come in and take a shower. And so, you know, this staff member was able to really connect with Ken. And throughout that 2 months, she was so determined and tenacious that she went to the state veterans and finally got him his pension, which he had never been getting, which is like $2,000 a month, and got him into assisted living for veterans, now up in Ogden, and was able to have his house condemned because it was so uninhabitable that he had been sleeping in his car for over a year in his front driveway.
So this gentleman was homeless, sleeping in his car on his own property.
Yes. And it just really hits home to me that, and let me tell you what happened. His family called me, and his family was in tears, and they were like, we don't know how you guys did it and how your staff, you know, connected with him, but Miss Christie is an angel in our eyes,
yes.
You know, and that is so true, but it just took a long time, but it was every day connecting with Ken to say, I care about you. And he responded to her where he had not for 20 years responded to his family. And that's what we do every day, right?
Yeah.
None of them are, you know, going to be exactly like a Ken story, but it took 2 months, and it was really hard, and it took a lot of work, but changing someone's life and giving them dignity, it's what it's all about. Circles is a great way to connect. low-income families, especially people who have had generations of poverty, to middle-class mentors, if you will. And these middle-class mentors connect with them for 18 months and become their intentional friend, if you will, right? And teach them things that they might never have learned in their own growing up, right, in poverty. It's a fantastic program, but especially...
And one of the things that is designed to do is to help these people build social capital.
Yep, building social
Learning
capital.
how to expand their circle. That's why it's called Circle.
Yep.
There's a lot more resources than I ever imagined, but you need to know that they're there. You know, and I mean, sometimes you get in a spot in life where you just can't see a way out, and so there's no will to get out. You know, and it becomes comfortable to stay in that spot. And once you meet the right people, meet you guys, obviously, you know, and you find the resources that are available and get some motivation behind it. And there's a lot of help out there to help you get back on your feet. You know, I mean, they won't going to do anything for you, but they'll help you do what you need to do. But it's just the fact that I have options today is the biggest thing, you know. I mean, that's huge, because, you know, there was a point where I didn't have any options. There's only one thing to do, and it's just not like that anymore. So the fact that I can set goals, and it can, even if I wanted to do a career change right now, I'm confident that I have the resources and the people, the support team behind me, that I could do that and be successful at it.
It's so important to not ignore people we can help if we can still stay connected to them somehow, right? And that's what I love about the Circles program, is they're still connecting to these families, because it's harder now than it was a year ago. And they're trying, now they got the stress and the worry about my kids might not be in school next week because of COVID, or I just had some jobs you know, that are, my hours got cut because of COVID. And so that extra stress is really, they reach out to those allies to say, do you have any suggestions? What do you got? You know, what do you got for me now? You know?
Yeah, and that's what the Allies does. It doesn't fix their problems, but they brainstorm with them. They help them learn how to problem solve.
That's right.
How to find the solutions.
Instead of getting up.
Instead of giving up, exactly.
That overwhelming, where a lot of our clientele will just do a shutdown because they don't know how to problem solve. A lot of us in middle class learned how to problem solve, you know, by our parents, right? Or having to do hard things at school. But you know, we see a lot of people who become so overwhelmed because everything else is really hard in their lives that one more thing, like losing hours at a job, is just like tips them right over the edge.
Yeah.